If you've been with us since the beginning of the day, thank you. We've been really excited for this conference, and I've been super excited to present this workshop with my colleague here today. So we will be looking at getting to know your students through digital storytelling. And if you are lucky enough to join Manuela Franceschini's keynote, she really spoke about digital storytelling and that overarching sort of idea or picture or its great effect and great use sort of within curriculum. So the resources that we're going to go through today is a bit more of a deep dive into those digital storytelling resources that my colleague Kaitlin Hartley and Manuela Franceschini have put together. They're amazing. We can't wait to show you them today. So I'm Molly Turner. A few of you have already sort of met me if you've been at the plenary sessions, and I'm a customer success manager in the education team, and I look after a number of different universities and TAFEs, many of those which are creative campuses.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaitlin Hartley. I'm a creative campus lead here at Adobe for Western Sydney University in particular. And Molly and I, like she said, are so excited to bring digital storytelling to the conversation today with you. Feel free to use that chat for your comments and questions throughout, and we'll address those during the workshop today. And I hope you're able to just take away some tangible activities that are easy to use with your students as we think about digital storytelling in the context of skill development for our students in higher education. So we're going to introduce digital storytelling for student engagement, introduce you to the activity guide, which Manuela also mentioned in her keynote, talk about a few use case spotlights from our partners, and then think about next steps and wrap up. So without further ado, let's talk about digital storytelling. So as educators, we all have a similar mission to prepare our students really for the next generation workforce, to be future ready, to be job ready, and to have the skills that they need to succeed in their future careers. So how can we keep up with the digital skills changes, the AI evolving landscape, and prepare our students and really prioritize those top skills needed for students, such as creative thinking and visual communication. So as we think about this and how we can encourage students to communicate their ideas and their thoughts and their innovations, no matter which discipline or field they're part of, how can we weave this throughout their learning experience for our students? So that's where digital storytelling can enter the scene. And it's certainly a skill set that we're seeing talked about more often, and is really the mission that Adobe brings to the education context, is how can we encourage our students to be creative and to think critically and to be digitally fluent all through this joint topic of digital storytelling. And it's all put to the test through visual communication in a multimodal way. So as Molly mentioned, if you were part of Manuela's keynote, she gave a really inspiring talk on the idea of storytelling and its place in education, how we can use stories to make learning more meaningful, more memorable, and think about the journey that learning is, and how we can help students make meaning of that journey through our institutions, our programs, our curriculum, our courses, our subjects. So if you missed it, I encourage you to check it out after today, that recording, and I'll also share her resource webpage with you so you can look at that. But as we think about digital storytelling in action, one way we can use it is to build in activities into our teaching, which create that personalized learning experience at scale. And the activity guide we're going to share with you today was created in collaboration with our Creative Campus partner, Western Sydney University. They came to us really wanting to build experiences for students which inspire connection, assist with their transition to university, and which encourage them to set goals and reflect on their learning experiences. So those were the three pillars by which these activities were developed, and which you'll see segmented in the 20 plus activities that we'll share with you. So we developed a collection of ready-to-use activities, all templated and all shared in this activity guide. And they're multimodal in nature, so you'll see that the outputs are all very different. It could be a web page, it could be a podcast, a video, a reel, or just a poster, all utilizing the power of Adobe Express and fostering those ideas of critical thinking and reflection and establishing that sense of belonging, really with student retention being the grander goal of all of it and enhancing that student experience. So these ready-to-use activities are remixable, but they're low-lift activities for you to incorporate into your teaching. It could also be incorporated in the K-12 space as well. Fun activities for students to get to know one another. And we talk about at scale because a lot of times we have really large cohorts where you don't really know the students walking into your classroom. You don't know more than the demographic data maybe you're given or their student number. So it allows you to get a sense check of who's walking into your classroom, what experiences they bring, how they learn potentially, and to hear their goals. So you may want to change your teaching or change how you respond based on what you're hearing and seeing from what they send to you in these activities. So let me put that link in the chat for you here. And that's the full guide. Any questions we need to address live, Molly?
No, I will look. I'll address this one live here. So Janine was saying about marking multimodal work. Look, it can often be really tricky depending on your curriculum. I'm going to pop a link in the chat around some rubrics that we have for our multimodal templates as well. So that might be something you can lean into to have a look at how these types of multimodal activities can be assessed.
Great. And this is the link to the guide. If you want to pull that up and bookmark it and save it, you can go back to this guide. It looks like this as a presentation in Adobe Express, but you can click through with that next arrow, and you'll notice all of the templates are linked on each page. So you can click those to open up the corresponding activity. If you like to kind of create and play while you listen and learn, I'd encourage you to check out the All About Me activity. It'll look like this. When you click that link, you can click Remix, and you can start to play around with some of the icons or imagery that tell your story and who you are, and you can put that on our Padlet after the workshop if you'd like to share it, so you can kind of see one of the activities in action. And we'd love to see what you make and who's joining us in this workshop today. So that's one of the activities. This is part of the connection category of activities. How can we get to know our students a bit more in just a fun, quick, maybe first week activity? There's also components that are specific to academics. So if you wanted to share a web page about who you are, this is an academic staff or staff or lecturer specific template. You can open up that here and use the remixable design to create a web page to tell who you are. This gives students a great way to kind of know you a little bit outside the classroom and what inspires your teaching and what you bring in terms of your expertise and experience. And also just makes you a little bit more human to tell your story. Um, the other one I want to point out is um, this vision board. So this is part of our kind of goal setting category of activities. A fantastic way for students to visualize and tell their story of who they think their future me might be. Something that inspires them and describes them, and it puts us in this visual format for them to share. Maybe they present it to the class, maybe they just pop it into a Padlet to have a discussion thread, or it could even be part of an assessment if you want to write it into your curriculum to encourage them to think about their future career or how they think about their degree program fitting into their future and what the learning they want to take place before then might look like or what they want to manifest. Pass it to you for this one, Molly.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one here is a video template, and often sort of when I've been working with a lot of the educators, video is something that they feel like they don't really have the skills in. And what's great about all of these resources, and as you can see as it starts playing through, is that there is that low lift. So what Manuela and Caitlin's really tried to do here is to provide those instructions for students. So as their teacher, educator, you're not the one tasked with having to teach them the tool. It is really, they get into it, there's very clear, distinct instructions, and when you open up that template, it opens up into the editing canvas, if you like, and that they can really easily see how they can go and add a voiceover, for example, to be able to put, yeah, their reflections in there, the advice that they're giving to themselves as younger selves, whatever it may be. And the beauty of all of these templates is they can be modified, and that's what Manuela was saying in her keynote. The key is to make it your own. So yes, we've given you some examples in there and a guidance into it. You'll find that a lot of your students will do that automatically as well, and what they end up creating sometimes is way better than what we've sort of started with. But by all means, have a play with them yourselves as well before handing them sort of over to your students. It's a really good way to get started. So on that, so these particular modules I did share with TAFE New South Wales. So Manuela has been working very closely with a lot of our creative campuses in ways that they can use these particular modules within their settings. So lots of different universities across Australia, different faculties ranging, you know, from nursing, law, business, sort of a huge gamut. And when I spoke to TAFE New South Wales about this, and if I have any TAFEs on the call with me now, we know that changing an assessment or changing curriculum is a really difficult process and can take a lot of time to sort of get anything changed. So the way that TAFE saw that they could use these particular modules because they loved them, they saw sort of great value in it, was that they were going to use them in project-based learning modules that centered around employability attributes. So the focus wasn't on assessment. This is around skills-based. So these particular skills like critical thinking, self-reflection, self-management, collaboration, the whole gamut of these really important employability skills. I actually call them human skills now, which we are putting so much, we need to put a lot of emphasis on those skills in the age of AI, and that these activities were able to really sort of foster that. So what will happen is these modules are peppered in and out. So they're kind of woven, not even peppered, in and out. So the way that TAFE use it is they're doing a course and it's sitting within the design faculty across sort of statewide, and they have a module pack for employability skills or attributes, and teacher might say, okay, great, we're going to, sort of learn now about maybe self-reflection, or taking in feedback or whatever it might be, and they'll do one of those modules, and they might find that they have to come back and do it again and again, and they use all of these different modules sort of throughout, and that then helps them within their assessments, but also for that really key skill building piece, which is great. And what TAFE are going to do, which is super exciting, is use this particular model as a bit of a proof of concept to then demonstrate the value of something like Adobe Express in being able to present, create, provide really, really engaging and really high level aesthetically beautiful learning material. So particularly in that design faculty, what they were finding was the resources that they had wasn't modeling up great design principles and practices, because look, and it's, we're just evolving in terms of, going from something from like a Word document or a PDF into this more dynamic, multimodal, visually really appealing and very engaging resources. So yeah, the resource set that we're sharing with you today was certainly the springboard into that for them, but they will be modifying them quite a lot and obviously branding them as well. So it's great to have that flexibility with them. So I'm really excited to see how this project rolls out across TAFE New South Wales. And Kaitlin, you have been already doing this with Western Sydney University to great effect.
Yes, that's right. So we have a fantastic lecturer at Western Sydney University who teaches in the nursing and midwifery program, and she coordinates a very large first year student unit of 1,200 who all have a portfolio at the end of their subject to talk and reflect on their first placement as a nurse or midwifery student. And so not only have we built the assessment for their portfolio into Adobe Express to visually communicate and reflect in a web page format, but we've also added in this beginning activity at the very start of the term to establish connection in this About Me web page template. So it gives the students a bit of practice using Express in a non-assessed, fun activity. It gives their tutors an insight into who's in the classroom among their hundreds of students that are there. It gives them an opportunity to embrace Express in that visual communication and creativity a bit before they're marked on their portfolio, and really is developing the skills in students to think about visual communication and creative communication, even though they might not identify that as a key skill that they need to learn in nursing and midwifery. It's certainly important as they think about communicating with patients and communicating with their team and their managers in their future career. So it really introduced personalized learning at scale, and that important and pivotal moment of a first year student who's just coming into uni for the first time might feel overwhelmed, especially in a very large subject of 1,200 students, by giving their peers, it's sharing who they are, and being a bit of a get to know you activity from the very beginning to aid in that transition. So that emphasis on the first year experience is really important. And the reflection from the lecture is that students are really embracing Adobe and she thinks that the more they use it for their assessments, the more they'll realize the benefits in their learning. So it was a really great use case to see them utilize one of these activities. You can notice in this screenshot that we customized the remixable template design to include a Western photograph and some particular components throughout. the template that makes it custom to this subject. So it was brought up in the chat, like, can we customize the activities to be subject specific? And absolutely, that's how they're meant to be used. We want you to think about the concept behind the activity and then, translate that into what makes sense for your curriculum. Does it make sense to include particular language from your subject matter or discipline, or questions that you want them to reflect upon? So you can yourself remix our activity and then resave it as a remixable design for your students. So it's really just a starting point, these activities, and to kind of give you some ideas of what's possible in Express and um, how can we get them to tell their stories in these digital formats. What also you could do is allow the students to choose an activity. Maybe you give them a selection of 5 and give them the voice and choice to pick, and that might make them more excited to explore. Maybe someone's really passionate about making videos and they want to do that, but others are a bit scared by the idea of making a video, so they want to do more of a poster format. You can give them the choices and allow them to create something that speaks to them and themselves. So I wanted to allow you to ask some questions, to maybe share if you're creating something in the About Me poster. And do we have any questions in the chat?
Nothing's come through. We've got some people loving the resources and obviously going through them. So Fran has said that she really loves the real template we've got there. I know that Fran does marketing and comms. Yeah, certificate 3 or certificate 4, I think it is, at Ultimo there. And that's right, she does a lot around sort of social media. But maybe, Kaitlin, if we click into the All About Me and we remix it and see if anyone else has been busy in the background and they've been listening to us but also playing. So that often sort of happens. And we can kind of just show how, if it's your first time here in Adobe Express, we can just show you really quickly how you can replace images, the text, and then perhaps sort of share it out, or even like you mentioned before, create that template for our student.
Yeah, so if you want to open up any of the activities and click that remix button, it'll open it up as a project in your own Express account. And then you can start to edit the components. So if you want these prompts to be different for your students, you can simply double click the text and change those to why I'm studying marketing. And you can change it that way. Or if you were the student who's actually completing this assignment, you can go through and choose the images and click replace. You can upload your own content if you'd like. You can replace from the stock imagery in Express, or design assets and search through. So for example, social media. Adobe Stock gives you over 2 million results for social media in Express, so heaps to choose from. If you just click that image, it's going to replace it for you, and then you can kind of play around with the resizing and do it that way. So if you're a lecturer and you're creating a new remixable template, I'm just going to quickly show you how to save it as a remixable design. You'll want to click share and view only link, and make sure you toggle this allow others to remix button on. So that's kind of the key step in creating a link that you share with your students that then they're able to remix. Any questions so far?
Nothing's coming through. I'm just having a chat with Penny in the background around TAFE essay, but I'm going to find out for you, Penny, if all your students have access. Give me 2 seconds.
Perfect. So have fun kind of remixing this one. And then when you are done with your design, you can use that download button to save it as probably a PNG or JPEG, and then pop it into the Padlet for all of us to see. So you're going to do everything from all these images. You can change the wording to be appropriate to what you want to share. And then also you can add an image of yourself by clicking that replace button, replace with an upload. You can also use generative AI if you want to create kind of a cartoon of yourself. You could use our media button to generate an image and use a prompt then to describe some features of yourself if you want to do it that way. But you can have a bit of fun with the colors as well, and make it your own.
Has anyone been creating one? Maybe pop a little screenshot in the chat, or you can add it to the Padlet as well. I'd really love to sort of see anyone's creations there. It's such a great starting point. And if we have any K-12 teachers on the call as well, there's a version of this in your K-12 Express for Education. If you go to one called guided activities, that you'll see that there is a more like a K-12 kind of version of this called All About Me, which is another really great template. You can also just search in templates, but I'll quickly find a snapshot of it just so you know what you're looking for. All right,
I'm going to pull up the Padlet too.
Cool.
Because
There's
they're
been
not
some
able to add it in the chat.
great additions. Here we go, guide activities.
Nice. Yeah, so you can see all the images and some of the colors, and text is all changed. And it's a really great activity to see students even present some of these in front of one another, to share their story.
Nice one, James. And this is the K-12 version. So I'm just popping the link in the chat and you get a bit of an idea of sort of how it's a little bit different because of the different audience.
Perfect.
Well, we've got a few more minutes as well. If anyone would like some additional questions. Actually, one came up at the beginning around web pages or digital portfolios. So should we dive a little bit deeper into that template and just have a look at sort of how easy it is to then bring it up and make it your own? And then I'll also pop in the chat a tutorial around building web pages.
Yes, so I'll pop the academic staff remixable web page template in the chat here and show you a little bit around web pages. So if you've never used our web page design before, it's very easy. You don't need any website building experience. It's kind of just a pop and play template for you to add in the words and images, and no HTML coding needed, which is really good. But you can make a publishable web page in just a few minutes. So you can see the images in the background. Again, similar nomenclature here, replace with your images and search Adobe stock, and all the text you highlight to change and just type it in. And then you're going to kind of be able to go throughout and add in any sections as well. So that the plus buttons on the page allow you to insert new sections. You can always insert a photo, text, a button. So if you have a LinkedIn, you want to pop that in here. That's a great place for it. A GIF or a video from YouTube, Vimeo, or Express. A photo grid makes a bit of a collage. A glide show does this kind of scrolling technique where you have an image with pop-ups on top of it, and then a split layout, which gives you a half and half view of text and an image, and you can flip which side those two sit on. So you can always delete sections within the templates. If you don't like that, just simply click it and delete it. And similarly with text, if you just want to talk about who am I, you can simply change the text and replace it. You can go so far into customizing or as little as you want. You can just replace the words and images, or you can take it that next step with customization and choose that art palette in the top toolbar, which is our themes button. And that's where you can customize the fonts, the background color, the size of the fonts. You can change the header images, you can add a logo. You can do a lot within that theme category. So if you aren't liking some of the visual nature of the design, pop into themes, and that's where you'll be able to change all those things. Can you remind me, is it one-way or two-way interactivity in Adobe Express? So it is one way, meaning they would just view the link of the web page. So Manuela's resource is a great example of a published Adobe Express web page where you're able to view the content that she's curated in this scrolling fashion. But there are external links that allow the viewer of the web page to open up new tabs and explore the additional information. But it doesn't allow someone to comment unless you give them comment access. So you can actually share if you wanted to, like have your students give you as a lecturer, as their faculty member, comment access. You can invite them as a collaborator, and you can choose. So if I added Molly to this, I can say comment only, or I can give them edit access if it's a team project, and allow them to comment. But at large, when you publish a web page in Express, it's not going to allow any comments or interaction from people who view it.
Yep. And I'll just clear something up as well, because I know, Janine, thank you for chiming in there as well about the student gallery. So just so everyone knows, our higher education institutions have a different version than the K-12 version. So they run more off like what we're showing you today in that enterprise sort of space of Adobe Express that we use across higher education and in enterprise businesses, organizations, things like that. The K-12 version does have a gallery because part of Classrooms, which just got launched, and it is like a Padlet and it's awesome. But if that's something as well that higher ed would like, we have feature requests that you can always put through because they can modify the this version for higher education to be a little bit more edu. So by all means, pop it on the feature request. I think it would be a great addition to have something like a gallery space for our higher education students and educators. Janine, I'll just pop in the chat the link to feature request. You can do it in product as well. on the dashboard, but I'll also give you the link. I've got it open because I have been sharing this in a couple of the other chats because there's been some great feature requests that have come through. So you can see requests that have come through and you can vote for them. And you can also post to the community to do a feature request there as well. And there you go. Caitlin's showing you that. So Caitlin, do you want to talk through that motion?
Yeah, so that little beaker in the top toolbar of Express gives you a share feedback or submit an idea button where you can share that within the tool itself. But Molly will also share an alternate option if you'd like. And I did want to just quickly show you how when you're done with a web page, so if this is finished and I'm ready to share it, you're going to click share and publish to web. You can give it a title which will come up in the browser window. There's also an option to password protect if you'd like. But you're going to create the link. And what's good about these web pages is you can go back in here, edit things, add things, and click republish in this same toolbar. And the link doesn't change. So if you've already given that link to someone, say it's a portfolio of yourself, and you want to add in a new experience, you just republish it and it will come up in that same link that you've already shared with someone. So that's how you share it. Perfect. Thanks for sharing those. And yeah, the learning kits are there for you as a resource. Definitely bookmark those. It goes into more about adding this into your assessments and rubrics and more details. But I also want to encourage you, since this is the very last workshop of the full conference day, to please submit your feedback. You can scan this, or I'll also grab the links. So if you want to do it on your computer, here it is. Please open up this survey and share your feedback about all of the sessions that you've attended today. And what you'd like to see in future iterations of the Adobe Educators Conference. Share with us what you learned, and we'll be sure to read through all of those and have it inform our future practices. Any final thoughts, Molly? You're on mute.
It was bound to happen, Caitlin. I almost got through the whole conference. Final thoughts. I was just going to say, I almost feel like I need that music just to pump me up to get through. What an amazing day. And really, I can't stress how useful, effective these resources are. When you've got time to really digest them, you'll start, I know as educators, seeing those connections and where it fits into your programs. And when you see it in the hands of your students, when you've done maybe one of the introductory activities, so I know, going into term 4, but maybe planning for next year to get to know your students, for them to get to know a little bit about yourself. And they're great activities in and of themselves in terms of that digital storytelling piece. In terms of building those skills, employability attributes, those really human skills of self-reflection and self-management and goal setting and critical thinking and collaboration, that whole gamut. And at the same time, they're learning their digital skills and those tech skills. So in a really fun and engaging way. So they are, more than what you kind of see on the surface. When you see them starting to be integrated into your curriculum, you'll see some great impact. And we'll be really happy to learn if you have started to implement them into your programs and what your experience has been with them and any feedback on how we can make them better for you all.
Awesome. Yes, please reach out if you'd like to brainstorm or think about ways to use these in your curriculum and in your subjects. And we will leave you with that. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. You've got an early mark. You've all been amazing.